What is up, guys? Kid Kritic is back with the 12th episode of the Kid Kritic Mvie Podcast, where we talk about movies and all that other fun stuff. And we got a packed house today. We're going to talk about some more of this dark universe over at Universal. They just hired Paul Feig to make a new movie. What? We thought that was over. We also had the Toronto International Film Festival just happen. We got some more Game of Thrones content coming. And oh, by the way, we're doing our It Chapter 2 spoiler review. So sit back, relax, get a snack, because we're about to talk about movies and all that other fun stuff. So with that said, let's start this podcast.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Bond.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Say hello to my little friend.
Here's Johnny. And here we go.
What is up, my fellow Kid Kritic subscribers? We are here to talk about movies, oh yeah, and some other fun stuff on the Kid Kritic Mvie Podcast, and we got lots to talk about, so let's dive in. What is up, guys? Kid Kritic is back with a Kid Kritic Mvie Podcast. We talk about movies and all that other fun stuff, like I said a billion and kajillion times over and over again, and I'll just say it many more times to come. And man, there's quite a good amount of movie news came out this week. Just from the Toronto International Film Festival, we're definitely recap that. Apple Plus, what's going on there? Haley Steinfeld's gonna be in the Hawkeye series. What? But let's just start talking. So the first thing we will start talking about is the Russo Brothers. We all know them, the directors of Captain America: Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, Avengers: Infinity War, and the box office king, Avengers: Endgame. That is right. So basically, they've moved on for now, I guess, from the MCU. They have no interest for now. They have no interest to come back to the MCU in any time in the near future. However, if they were to come back, they are interested in directing the Fantastic Four, because they're fans of the Fantastic Four. So they were at TIFF promoting one of their films that they're producing or something. And basically what Joe Russo said, he said, I grew up on Byron's X-Men run. Ben Grimm was a favorite character growing up. The Thing and Fantastic Four is now in the Marvel fold. There's a lot. Silver Surfer is an amazing character. Going really big and cosmic would be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things that could attract us. And then they basically go on and telling their journey in the MCU. So, look, this is kind of my overall thoughts on this. I love the Russo Brothers. I kind of like that they're stepping away and trying new things. You kind of see, they're producing that new 21 Bridges film with Chadwick Boseman. They're producing a lot of films with their company. Right now, they're about to start shooting that film with Tom Holland that I believe is called Red Cherry. That film sounds amazing. So, I really like that they're stepping away, doing totally different things. They're doing some sci-fi stuff, and you kind of say that the Avengers films definitely have some sci-fi stuff, especially if you look at the space elements in these Avengers films. However, they're doing more dramatic things. They're doing some out of the world things that you just don't really see much, and I love that. However, let's say that just like this movie that they're making with Tom Holland stinks. A lot of the films they're producing just is not turning out so good. We might have ourselves another Robert Downey Jr. situation. Like when Robert Downey Jr. went to go do The Judge, which is a film I don't mind. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't mind it. I only saw it once when it came out, so I don't remember very much. But let's say it's another situation like Robert Downey Jr. where he made The Judge. That movie didn't do so good, especially at the box office. Critically, it didn't do so hot. It was kind of mixed. So he's like, I don't know. And then he came back to the MCU, and now he's doing. I mean, they've been planning on doing a Sherlock Holmes film forever, and now Guy Ritchie's not even supposed to direct it, and then he's doing that Dr. Dolittle film. But this could be another Robert Downey Jr. situation. However, I don't see it because I don't know. I have confidence in the Russo brothers and whatever they're doing. I love the Russo brothers. I mean, to me, they directed some of the best comic book films we've ever had between Winter Soldier and Civil War. And yes, I love Infinity War and I love Endgame, but Civil War and Winter Soldier are utterly fantastic films. Fantastic films. And I actually just recently watched Winter Soldier a couple weeks ago, and that movie is just so great. Now, let's say they do come back. Would I be bummed? No, absolutely not. I mean, did you not see the 4 films that they just made that were not only critically received well and the audiences loved them, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but Avengers Endgame is the king at the box office. And I mean, I'd love to see them return, but for now, I want to see them do different things and kind of take a break from this stuff. So I like it. I mean, sure, if they're interested in Fantastic Four and they want to come back, sure, why not? But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, go do something else for now, at least. And then I'm sure Kevin Feige will probably choose another director, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't see the Fantastic Four having their own movie in Phase 4, probably beginning Phase 5. I'm sure they'll definitely be hinted at in Phase 4. Like, I think the Fantastic Four will be introduced before the X-Men do, because the X-Men, that's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough, and I'm nervous. I'm really nervous on how they're going to include the X-Men, because while I do love Infinity War, and I've said this before, that movie was on the edge of being way overstuffed. It wasn't. I don't think it was, but it was definitely on the verge of it. And you had an X-Men with all these characters. That's tough. But, I mean, Fantastic Four, that can be really cool. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But, something else that seems pretty cool, and that is Apple Plus. That is right, folks. So Apple just announced some more information about their streaming service, which is called Apple Plus. I don't know what is it. I mean, Disney Plus, Apple Plus. I don't know what is it with these pluses. So basically, Apple Plus will launch in November. I believe it's November. I'm gonna take a guess. November 1st, I believe. And this is coming from CEO Tim Cook, and he says that the subscription price is going to be at $4.99, not $499, but $5 basically, $5 a month, and basically some of the shows that are going to be on there. So you obviously have the morning show with Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Steve Carell, which looks like a pretty good show. You have For All Mankind, which imagines an alternate universe in which the global space race never ended. That sounds interesting. You also have Dickinson, which is a comedy starring Haley Stanfield, who we'll talk about pretty soon, as a young version of poet Emily Dickinson. That could be cool. And C, a dystopian drama led by Jason Momoa. That looks awesome. That looks really cool. So basically, they're gonna have 23 original shows for $5, and it launches November 2nd. Now, what do I think of this? I think some of the stuff that they're making looks really cool. Like that morning show looks awesome. I love Steve Carell. I love Reese Witherspoon. I love Jennifer Aniston. That Jason Momoa show looks awesome. But the thing is, somebody brought this up in one of the movie shows that I watch. Somebody brought this up. Disney Plus comes out a week and a half later, and we all know how loaded Disney Plus is. And to be honest, I think Apple Plus is gonna struggle, because I don't think the stuff that they're making, while it looks good, I mean, you compare that to like The Mandalorian, the MCU shows, to some of the Fox stuff, to, yes, National Geographic, because that appeals to other audiences, to the Pixar stuff. I mean, Disney Plus is loaded, and you compare that to the Apple Plus. I'm sorry, but Apple Plus is nothing compared to Disney. I mean, Apple Plus, the content that they're going to have on there doesn't even make up like a fifth of what Disney's gonna have on there, plus some of their old content. And it was literally just announced that the X-Men old animated show and the Spider-Man old animated show is gonna be on Disney Plus, and I think it's gonna struggle. But I mean, yes, while some of the stuff does look interesting, and while the price is, I mean, it's fine. But how many people are gonna pay $5 a month for like 3 shows? Yes, there's gonna be people out there, but I don't think they take up the majority, because you also have Netflix, which costs like, I don't know, $15 a month, which I think should be lowered. But I get why. And you also have Disney Plus, you also have Hulu, you also have some of your sports stuff, you also have the Warner Brothers stuff. Will Apple Plus survive? That's also the question. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think if these shows are... Because if these shows suck, I just don't see them. But if they're good... I mean, once they put in more content... Sure, I'm sure it'll be fine. But it's like, what... You talk about the movies... They don't own many IPs in that arena either, so it's like it's tough. You're really in the midst of a tough streaming war, and I don't know. And another thing, they haven't really been marketing this. I mean, they're marketing an iPhone that doesn't come out for another year. Not many people know about Apple Plus. I mean, you ask Grandma, "Hey, do you know about Apple Plus?" No. Is that like a TV show? What is that? No, they're not gonna know what Apple Plus is, because they're just not marketing it, which is a big thing. So I do think Apple Plus will struggle. It absolutely struggle, especially that it's around the excuse me, especially if it's around the Disney Plus release date. And I mean, I don't think they have enough content yet. And yes, while the price isn't the most expensive, it's definitely one of the cheaper prices. I mean, yes, it's cheaper than Disney Plus, but $1, $2 more, you get way more content than you do Apple Plus, and it's just a way better deal. And I do think it will struggle, sadly, but I hate to say it, but it's kind of on them. But yeah, it's truly a shame, but you're in the midst of the streaming wars. But so we were just talking about this person, and she goes by the name of Haley Steinfeld, and basically she's in talks to join the Disney Plus Marvel show Hawkeye. She's rumored, well, she's in talks to be in the show, to probably play Kate Bishop. And look, I love Haley Steinfeld. I absolutely love her. I think she's one of the best young actresses we have. I mean, from Edge of 17, which is an utterly fantastic film. It's definitely one of the best coming-of-age films we've had in a while. It's definitely up there with like Boyhood or some other ones. Maybe even I've definitely put it up there with the Superbad. I just adore the film. And then to Bumblebee, which is easily the best Transformers film of all time, and she's definitely one of the best human characters, and she's utterly fantastic, and I just love her as an actress. And I'm obviously excited. I mean, it's hard to comment on this because you don't really know much other than she's in talks. But you don't even know much about the show other than it's basically Kate Bishop taking on the role and mantle of Hawkeye. But I'm a big fan. I mean, if she turns out to be in the MCU, I mean, that's just absolutely exciting. I'm sure many people are also excited. But you know, some other people that are excited, and that is the executives over there at Warner Brothers, because this It Chapter 2 box office is absolutely insane. I mean, this film... It's about to go into its second weekend in release, and it's already made $224 million worldwide. And for people out there who say that this movie is a failure because it doesn't have It Chapter 1 numbers, I'm sorry, but you're crazy. I mean, it's basically for a horror R-rated film to make $224 million in 1 week, it's insane. I mean, it's the second highest box office film for an R-rated horror film, just behind its predecessor, It Chapter 1. and I think it's fantastic. I mean, I liked the movie, so I'm glad it's making this money. I mean, it's definitely nowhere near as good as the first one, because I think the first one definitely had more charm and not as many problems as the second one did. But make sure to check out my review of it, Chapter 2. But I did quite enjoy it, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but Andy Muschietti basically came out and said that he's gonna literally go make 2 more scenes for an extended cut of the film that's probably going to be like 5 hours long, and one scene that is supposed to be from the novel and one that isn't, that's supposed to be a big mystery. Now, I mean, I'll get more into the spoilers later, but I mean, I'd definitely go see that extended cut. It's going to be on the Blu-ray, so I'll definitely pick it up. I mean, if it wasn't, I don't even know if I would get the Blu-ray, but for people who say that this film is a failure, just, I don't get it, because these numbers don't show that it's a failure. I mean, it's absolute fact that this movie is just not a failure, unless it just doesn't make money anymore, which I highly doubt. But anyways, let's move on to another topic that is surprising, and that is Paul Feig is to direct a Dark Universe film from Universal called Dark Army. Now, the Dark Universe obviously had it did not do so good with that Mummy film. Now, the movie's not good. It's just horrendous, that Mummy film, and I honestly, like a lot of people, I thought it was over. I thought it was done, but apparently not. So basically, Paul Feig, who directed Bridesmaids, he directed Spy, he directed The Heat, he directed Ghostbusters, and he directed A Simple Favor. And most films out of that bunch have been received really well and have done solid at the box office, I guess. And basically, so this is basically an original idea. So it's not based off of anything. So basically, after The Mummy underwhelmed the studio, obviously, they thought of going for an original idea, and basically it's the old classic monsters against the new monsters, and I think that sounds like a bunch of fun. I'm surprised to say that I'm actually kind of excited for this, especially after that Mummy film and everything just crashed and burned. But I'm actually excited for this because I don't mind Paul Feig, and this premise sounds awesome, and hopefully it's executed right, hopefully it has the right cast, and hopefully they do it right this time, because that Mummy film was just flat out awful, and hopefully again, it's just, I'm just hoping that this movie is good. And I mean, but so far, by the premise and the director, I am definitely excited for this. Surprisingly, because of that premise, it just sounds like just a blast. But another thing that sounds awesome, and that is more Game of Thrones. That is right, folks. We're getting more Game of Thrones this time. Well, another prequel series. HBO just ordered a second prequel series. And basically, this time it will be, I think, 400 years before the events of Game of Thrones, and it's basically the start of the Targaryen era, and that sounds awesome. That sounds completely awesome. Yes, I know most people did not like Season 8 of Game of Thrones, but guess what? You know who did? I did, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I did quite enjoy that 8th season of Game of Thrones. I do agree, though, the season finale was very rushed. It wasn't horrible, but it was definitely dull and rushed. But anyways, I'm definitely excited for this. I mean, the other prequel series is supposed to take place, like, thousands of years before? But this one got dragons. I don't know if that other one got dragons, but this one's got dragons. It's obviously not going to have the Mad King in there, because that's not till much later. But I am so hyped for this. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, somebody brought up the point that they got to do something with this before the excitement dies down. And I think it's smart of HBO to order another series, because I mean, so many people are still talking about Game of Thrones. So yeah, I'm excited. Smart move, and I love the premise, and I cannot wait to see it. And yeah, so something else that we will not be seeing, and that is Joker crossing over with Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman. And look, when that news came out, I was even debating if I should talk about it because it was clearly obvious. It was clearly obvious. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix doesn't seem like the type of person to be in a cinematic universe. And the trailers definitely don't show me that. And none of the reactions show me that this film should be crossed over with Batman. Now, maybe I see the film and my mind changes, and maybe I'm like, oh, this is a missed opportunity. They should cross over. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, well, duh. I mean, I don't think Joaquin Phoenix will come back. And then Todd Phillips just put the stamp on it, basically by just saying, nope, definitely not. That's literally all he said. Is that basically puts a stamp on it, and I don't mind it. I'm actually glad. Now, maybe I won't be glad when I see the film, which I'm so excited for. I'm so excited to see Joker, but maybe I see the film like maybe it is a missed opportunity. But however, I love this. I absolutely love this, and like I said with films like X-Men, I think they should be by themselves. I think we should get more standalone films. I still want our cinematic universes like the MCU. I just don't want so many cinematic universes where you just focus on more on the situation and not much of the characters just because there's so much happening. And you definitely see that with some of the reactions from Joker, that this is definitely like a character piece, which I love. So to me, this was kind of obvious. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. So with that said, let's basically hit our biggest subtopic, and that is the Toronto International Film Festival. Right after the Venice Film Festival, there was the Toronto International Film Festival, and a lot of highly anticipated movies premiered. And let's just go right ahead and talk about Taika Waititi's new film, Jojo Rabbit. It just premiered at goodness gracious, the name just, I was about to say Venice Film Festival, but at Toronto Film Festival, TIFF 2019. And at first, the reactions were mixed, but then they've gotten a lot better now. So the first reaction comes from Peter Howell, and he says, Taika Waititi knocks it out of the park with the meaningful lunacy of his anti-hate satire titled 10-Year-Old, a Nazi in training with Hitler as an imaginary friend has something to learn. Love conquers hate, and laughter makes it easier. So that kind of shows that this movie is probably going to have some heart, which you definitely saw from that second trailer. Eric Davis says, Jojo Rabbit is one of the most absurd coming-of-age stories. That's interesting. I've seen funny, bittersweet, and unapologetically unique. Taika Waititi continues to prove he's among the most exciting and original voices telling stories right now. That has me very interested because everybody knows I love coming-of-age films. And the main character is a 10-year-old Nazi, and coming of age film. I love that that people are saying that this film kind of has a coming of age vibe to it, which I definitely love. Now, the next reaction comes from Grace Randolph, and she says, this is one time I'm not happy to have been right. I really like Taika Waititi. He's very talented, but some things you just don't joke about. Now, that kind of brings up something. Well, so then she continues and says, we'll see what happens as more reviews come in. Some of us will support it passionately. Some won't even want to get involved. Now, that kind of brings up an interesting topic. This film is not going to appeal to most people. Some people might find this film offensive, and you definitely saw that from the trailers. And apparently from Grace Randolph, she also felt some of that from this film, which is everybody's right. Again, I kind of talked about this with the Dave Chappelle thing. It's everybody's right to get offended. And I definitely see that, because this movie, it's about Nazis. It's definitely more of a lighthearted film with Nazis. So I definitely see the concern in that. Now, for me, I don't mind it, but I definitely see why people would. Absolutely. It's Nazis. But it definitely brings up an interesting topic to see how especially how the audience is going to receive this. And that's probably why, because it currently holds a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, probably because some people found it offensive and it just didn't work for them, which I get. I absolutely get. So that's definitely interesting. So let's see some other reactions here. Okay, so Connor Carey says, I'll be surprised if I see a better movie than all this all year. Hilarious, charming, emotional, and deeper than you'd expect. It's got such a big heart, and it's a film that should be seen by all. Entire ensemble cast is beyond perfect, and the message is important. Now, something that basically the consensus of these reactions is that it's a fun, light-hearted film that has a coming-of-age vibe. The cast is wonderful. It's funny. It's hilarious, and Taika Waititi does a splendid job. Now, again, there's people who out there where this film just doesn't work for them, and again, every movie is subjective. But that's kind of what I'm getting for this movie, and that's kind of what I was expecting, especially from the trailers. So I definitely dig that. Right now, it's 74% Rotten Tomatoes with 54 reviews in, so it definitely has ways to go. But so far, it has a pretty solid start, I'd say. But one movie that's having a glorious time right now, and that is Rian Johnson's new film, Knives Out. I'm so excited for this film. I like Rian Johnson quite a bit, and the trailer for Knives Out just looked utterly fantastic. So here are some reactions from Knives Out. So Eric Davis says, Knives Out is a flat out awesome in every way. The funniest film I've seen this year. Clever as hell, writing and glorious performances. Daniel Craig steals the film. This murder mystery send up just killed it here at TIFF 19. That sounds amazing. I mean, I definitely saw that with some of these reactions, that this movie is a clever film, which I definitely like, because, I mean, if it's not a clever murder mystery, then, I mean, you kind of fail. So the next reaction comes from Rendy Jones, who says, can't remember the last time I saw mystery that was fun, tightly written, amazingly constructed. Rian Johnson just crossed mystery and comedy off his list of accomplishments, for he made a new timeless classic. Wow, now that is some high praise. Wendy Lee Zaney says, Knives Out just became one of my favorite films of 2019. Rian Johnson blows it out of the water. The script is awesome. The performances are fantastic. I could easily watch this over and over. Daniel Craig stands out as Detective Blanc. Is it Blanc or Blanc? I don't know. This is a must. I believe it's Blanc. This is a must see. Now, this is some high praises. I mean, calling it a classic. I mean, you hear that Rian Johnson does a great job, that the script is amazing, the cast is amazing, the story is wonderful. That is basically the ingredients to a utterly fantastic film, and it definitely sounds that way. Chris Silva says, Knives Out is a masterclass in murder mystery, a beautifully crafted, laugh out loud guessing game. That sounds like, I mean, this movie's probably like just tons of fun. And the last reaction I'll read comes from Raphael Motomayor, says, Knives Out just killed its way to my top 5 movies of the year. A pitch-perfect whodunit that takes every genre trope and flips it upside down. The score is operatic, the cast is immaculate, and the story will have your mind spinning as often as it'll make you laugh. Bravo. And that sounds amazing. I mean, you definitely hear that some of the comedy is great, which I love. And I after coming off of The Last Jedi, I definitely think Rian Johnson needs a win, because it was The Last Jedi. Now, right now, Knives Out holds a 100% with 51 reviews. That's amazing. I cannot wait to see this film. I mean, you hear the performances are great. You hear the script is awesome. You hear Rian Johnson does a great job directing this film. And again, those are the ingredients to a fantastic film. Not a good movie, not an okay movie, not it was a fun time movie, but to a great, to a fantastic, to one of the best films of the year. And I'm sure it's going to be up there for me once I see it. Now, another movie that I'm highly anticipating, and it's also off to a good start, and that is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, obviously the biopic of Mr. Rogers, starring Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. Now, this movie definitely has some good buzz going around, and so I'll start off reading some of these reactions here. And the first one comes from Prasanna Raghunthan. I probably butchered her name, I'm very sorry, but she says, A Beautiful Day explores the impact of Mr. Rogers and his message told through the story of his interviews and interactions with the writer. It shows us what it means to embody hope in an often cynical world and live and love out loud. So many tears. Tom Hanks is sublime. So that's great to hear. I mean, that's kind of what I was expecting from the film, and that's definitely what you hear from some of these reactions. Eric Anderson says, one of the year's most creative, surprising, and intelligent film. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is destined to be a big hit with commercial and art house crowds in a significant moment for Marielle Heller. That's great. So another reaction comes from Daniel Joyox. I probably butchered your name again. I'm sorry. Marielle Heller's films have great empathy for protagonists that make bad choices with people that they care about, but never do so out of bad intent. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood continues this theme, and it's a lovely film about how essential our collective cynicism is. Again, it's basically a heartfelt movie that basically shines a light on some goodness in this world, so that's awesome. From Mr. Rogers, played by Tom Hanks, who's also getting some Oscar buzz, and I mean, why not? It's Tom Hanks. Let's see here. Meredith Border says, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is so much more daring and unusual than a Mr. Rogers movie needs to be, and it's 1,000 times more poignant because of that. So that's cool. Let's see here. Max Covell says, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This world still needs Mr. Rogers today and his spirit alive and thriving in this movie. Based on a true story, this healing movie brings immeasurable joy, and I'm so happy it exists. So that's awesome. I mean, those are the reactions I was kind of expecting. Right now, it holds a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes with 58 reviews, so that's great. I cannot wait for this film. I was kind of expecting like an awesome Oscar-worthy performance by Tom Hanks, and it's just a heartfelt, lovable film that we just all need, and I cannot wait to see this movie. I'm sure everybody's going to cry and need their tissue boxes, but something else that I just absolutely cannot wait for this film. It's up there, one of my most anticipated films of the year, and that is Ford vs. Ferrari. And this movie is definitely getting some buzz. So let's start off reading some reactions here. So the first one comes from Steven Weintraub. It says, absolutely love Mangold's Ford vs. Ferrari. While the racing stuff is incredible, what makes this movie work are the great characters being played by a brilliant group of actors. You're telling me. So hard in this day and age to greenlight a movie like this. So props to 20th Century Fox for making it, which is now owned by Disney. So that's pretty darn awesome that is to hear that it's just not about the racing, but it's also about the characters. Eric Davis says, loved Ford vs. Ferrari, an adrenaline-fueled masterclass in filmmaking from James Mangold. I could have watched Christian Bale ham it up as Ken Miles all day. Drives it like a beast. This one, so good. That sounds so good. I also this standing ovations at almost every movie. It's absolutely insane. I bet you if they showed a short clip of like Bob eating burgers, so it'll get a 10-minute standing ovation. Joe Utichi says Ford vs. Ferrari is a close to perfect movie. Whoa. James Mangold's masterpiece, and given his body of work, that's a lofty achievement. Gripping into the last lap, some of the best racing committed to film. I'd watch it on loop for 24 hours. Now, this also brings up that, this movie could be probably the best racing films of all time, because you don't get a lot of racing films, especially nowadays, because they just don't do well. You have some good ones out there, and I'm sure this one will also be in the conversation as well. So those are basically some of the reactions for Ford vs. Ferrari. So basically, it's saying that the performances are absolutely wonderful. The racing stuff is just great, but what drives it is these characters. Christian Bale is wonderful, and obviously he's wonderful. And it's just an utterly fantastic film, and I cannot wait to see it. Now, another movie that also premiered at Toronto International Film Festival, which will be the last one I'll be talking about. Yes, a lot of other movies came out, but just for time's sake, we'll talk about one more. And the next one we'll talk about is the Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx-led film, Just Mercy. Now, the trailer just came out. Make sure to check out my trailer reaction. And I love the trailer, love the cast, love the premise, and I just cannot wait to see this movie. So some of the reactions, so let's check this out. Raymond Sedodes says, probably butchered your name, I'm sorry. He says, Just Mercy is one of the best films of 2019. That's great. Mark Daniel says, huge ovation for Just Mercy tonight at TIFF. This movie packs an emotional punch. Michael B. Jordan delivers a career best performances. Audiences are going to embrace this one. I'm sure they will. I'm sure this movie is going to be powerful. And that's pretty high praise for Michael B. Jordan. I love Michael B. Jordan. He's fantastic. Definitely some of the best young actors we have right now. Wilson Morales says, wow, Just Mercy is a winner, emotional and powerful. This story is just a fragment of many injustices and needs to be seen. Michael B. Jordan was amazing, but Jamie Foxx and Rob Morgan are phenomenal. Not a dry eye in my row. Ooh, I'm telling you, I'm sure this movie's going to be just powerful and gut-punching. Eric Davis says, I hope this movie inspires you to do more. We can change things, which is a quote from Brian Stevenson, played by Michael B. Jordan in Just Mercy, who is standing with the main cast behind him. He just showed an image or a video from the premiere. So apparently Eric Davis loved it, so that's cool. Let's see here, moving on, let's see if there's any other reactions I can find here. International Film Critique says, Just Mercy is a deeply moving and important film that is easily one of the best films of the year, a searing and vital piece of black cinema, a triumphant ode.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please
Oh, sorry, Siri. Goodness gracious, I wasn't talking to you. God. Siri, man. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So, International Film Critique says, Just Mercy is a deeply moving and important film that is easily one of the best films of the year, a searing and vital piece of black cinema, a triumphant ode to the works and lives of amazing people. Jamie Foxx is beyond phenomenal and could be heading for the Oscar stage. Wow. I love Jamie Foxx. Yes, he was an Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I mean, yes, maybe it was his fault, but part of it may be Mark Webb's fault. But I love Jamie Foxx, obviously Django Unchained, and he's been in tons of other films that he's just fantastic in. So another reaction from Eric Davis, where he basically adds on from his previous one, and he says, Just Mercy is a tense, wildly engaging death row drama that's hard to watch at times, but also the kind of film that inspires multiple rounds of applause during the screening. Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan are terrific and will be an audience favorite for sure. I'm sure this movie will be an audience favorite, and I'm sure we'll hear a bunch about it once Oscar time starts to come around. And right now this film has an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes with 36 critics, so that's really good. I cannot wait to see this film. I mean, you hear that it's powerful, you hear Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx are deliver Oscar-worthy performances, that the supporting cast is great, and it's just gut-punching. Yes, that's exactly what I was expecting, and that's exactly what I'm expecting from all of these films, from Jojo Rabbit to Knives Out to A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood to Ford vs. Ferrari, and then to Just Mercy. So that was a pretty good roundup. I mean, they also premiered some other movies, like you had Hustlers, which is out now, which has some good reactions. They also had Goldfinch, which I hear is not good, so that kind of stinks. And Joker also had another premiere there. And you also have that other Natalie Portman film, that Lucy in the Sky movie, which is also not doing good. But most of the films have some pretty good or awesome reactions coming from it. So now with all that out of the way, let's get down to the main topic. Let's talk about why we're here. And that is for the It Chapter 2 spoiler review. And if that doesn't hint at anything, this review will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen It Chapter 2, go out and check it out, and make sure to come back and listen to this It Chapter 2 spoiler review by your very own Kid Kritic. So you have your warning there. So now let's get started into this It Chapter 2 spoiler review. Now it won't be as in-depth as the Far From Home one will be, but mainly because I don't remember as much. I mean, that's not saying that the movie's bad, but I'm just saying that it's a long movie. But anyways, so It Chapter 2, let's start off here. Now, let's start off with this. So the opening scene is, I talked about this in my review, and the opening scene, which is apparently a scene from the book, which I hear from somebody who has read the book. And this scene is haunting. Absolutely haunting. I mean, when they throw the guy over the bridge, well, first of all, when they start beating him up, oh, you just felt it. You really just felt it. And then they throw him over the bridge into the river, and then he sadly gets eaten by Pennywise, that stinking clown. But that opening scene is just hard and gritty and really hits you in your core. It really does. And yes, while I did enjoy the movie, if the film kept on that tier of greatness, this movie would have been probably one of the best horror films of all time. But yes, while I did enjoy the movie, I don't think it got to that point ever again throughout the film. And I talked about this with somebody who's read the book and has also saw It Chapter 2, and he also liked the movie. And we were talking about, we wish that this movie was grittier and it showed some more of the stuff from the novel. Well, yes, I haven't read the novel, but I know some of the elements of the novel. Like, I wished it showed more of Jessica Chastain / Beverly with her husband, more of that relationship, more of Bill / James McAvoy, basically what he's doing with his life and his wife. Like, I hear they explore some very interesting stuff, and you definitely saw a hint of it, and I wish it was explored more. Now, maybe we'll get some of that with the extended cut, but, I mean, I think that was a missed opportunity. But anyways, let's move on. So basically, they get the losers back together, basically for the next 20-30 minutes that I felt like was very rushed. I felt it was very rushed, that you didn't really know what was happening. It's like, whoa. It's like you go to Richie, then you go to Bill, then you go to Beverly, then you go to Mike, and then it's like, it's just all over the place. And speaking of Mike, I actually really liked him, but we'll talk about him later, actually. But I thought it was just rushed. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it's just, I wasn't a big fan of the pace. However, it does get better once they get to the Chinese restaurant, which that scene I thought was just tons of fun. And yes, people are probably going to think, oh, that scene was really corny. But I mean, the scene, there's just no way getting around it. The scene's corny. I mean, it's freaky. And then when they're walking out and Bill Hader, the kid walks up to him and he thinks it's the clown. That part was just it was hilarious. But I definitely thought that was really funny. But as far as like the chemistry goes between the losers, I thought it worked. I didn't think it worked as strong as the first one did, but definitely I thought it worked in this one. Now, as far as like the chemistry starts to go between Beverly and Ben, I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. I don't feel like it just didn't. Some of it didn't feel right. Like, I feel like it just got rushed into. I wish it got built upon more. Yes, you had the background experience from their childhood and their experiences there. I just wish we saw more of their connection from them as adults. Like, they connected more from their childhood. I wish they connected more as adults. That's why that was kind of my issue with their relationship. But and then that scene when she kisses Bill, I felt like that was forced. I didn't feel like you needed that. But anyways, so there's that. And you also have Stan's death, which I didn't mind. I didn't mind that they changed it up from the book. I prefer the novel version, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was definitely interesting, and I thought like, oh, that was pretty cool, of the reason why he killed himself. And so you have that. And another scene that I really want to talk about is that little girl scene. That little girl scene that you saw in the trailer, where she gets eaten. That scene is probably my second favorite scene in the film, behind the opening scene, of course. That sequence is scary. I think whenever Pennywise is basically trying to lure kids in, that is when the movie is basically at its best. Like when he eats the other kid in the Hall of Mirrors, which we'll get to later, and this scene. And maybe even obviously even the opening scene, but even even in chapter 1 with that's obviously the epic Georgie scene, just that's when like Bill Skarsgård is at his best, and he does a phenomenal job in this film, just as good as he is in the first one. And that scene, oh man, you just felt bad, you just really felt bad, and that scene, oh, so good, so good. So then right after that, after they get reunited, then they get separated, which I didn't mind. I thought it was pretty cool. They go on their little adventure, which I thought was really fun. And that's when a lot of the flashbacks come in. Again, I talked about this with somebody about the flashbacks. Here's the thing. We kind of agreed that some of the flashbacks were necessary. However, most of them you just didn't need it. I thought they were good flashbacks. I thought they were good. However, you just don't need them. You really don't. Excuse me. I feel like you could have taken out some flashbacks and put some more time into that chemistry between Beverly and Ben, some more time into the relationship that Beverly has with her husband, some more time into the Bill stuff, some more time in basically what's going on in these losers' lives, like what's going on in their adult lives, and we don't really get to see that. Maybe some more time with Stan, because he's only in the movie for like 50 seconds, but I wish we had more time with them as adults. Yes, I get it why they had them as kids, because they were so successful with the first one, and yes, while it was cool to see them, and yes, it was tons of fun to see it, I think the only ones that you really needed was the camp basement thing that they had in the forest, that flashback, and probably some of the Richie stuff. I think that's the only thing you needed. The other stuff was just an absolute waste. I just wish we got more of the adult stuff, because that's what I was looking forward to. And again, we also talked about how we kind of wish we wish this film was more grittier, and yes, we wish this movie took itself more serious. And again, I liked the movie, but I just wish that this movie took itself more serious, and it was just grittier. I know it sounds like I'm just like pooping all over this movie, but trust me, this movie, I liked it. I thought it was a fun horror film. But so they get separated and they go on their little adventure. So the stuff with James McAvoy with the kid, I thought was awesome. One of the best parts of the film, because you can definitely tell that he's like, yo, I've gone through this. I just can't let this happen to you. I can't let this clown get to you. And then when he gets to him and he basically bites his head off. Oh man, it's like, why? And then there's some speculation that was basically just Pennywise playing tricks with Bill, which is definitely an interesting rumor. I don't think so, because I think the film would have told us. But I thought the little adventure that Bill goes on was really cool. And then the scene where he screams basically at the sewer was awesome, because you saw like all that anger built up from the past just explode there. I thought that was really cool. I like James McAvoy, by the way, as Bill. I thought the first, like when he's introduced, it took me a little while. But then once I get to Derry, I'm like, alright, this feels like Bill. So I like James McAvoy as Bill. And then you obviously had the old woman scene with Jessica Chastain. That scene was really cool. When she basically pops up as the big, huge old lady, it did look kind of freaky, but at the same time it was kind of funny. But I did really like that scene. I also had the stuff with Eddie and what's that monster called? I forgot what the monster was called. That sewer monster looking thing. But like the stuff with his mom, I thought that was really cool, and that's where you definitely get more Eddie flashbacks that I don't think you need. And then you have Richie, who goes to like the old arcade. I thought when they focused on him, that was tons of fun, and I definitely think Bill Hader as Richie was definitely the standout of the film, and I definitely thought his little adventure was tons of fun. In the scene where he sees Pennywise and he's like, "Oh, I know your secret." Ooh, scary. Absolutely chilling. And if you guys don't know, I hate clowns. So the Henry Bowers stuff, I loved what they did with Henry Bowers. And some people didn't, but I loved it. I mean, you just saw that traumatic past just inside of him, and it haunts him. And I thought his best friend driving the car was just total fun. And I totally loved Henry Bowers in this film. I loved what they did with him. So basically, they reunite, they come back together, and they're like, you know what? We gotta come back together, reunite, and go fight Pennywise. And yes, it's very reminiscent of the first one. But, I mean, it's like, you know they're going to come together and fight Pennywise. So they go down to the sewer. And there's some funny comedic moments definitely between Richie and Eddie that I thought really worked. And then they go down to the sewer, and then they go fight the evil Pennywise. And I found that the way that they beat him by, like, basically screaming at him, I saw what they were going for. However, I don't know, it felt a little bit corny, I'm not going to lie. And then obviously he shrinks, which I thought was pretty funny. And I just found it to be a little bit corny, to be honest with you. But I found what they did with Eddie's death was really well done, and what you felt the connection between Richie and Eddie. I definitely felt that, and I think the definitely the standouts were probably Richie, Eddie, and I'd probably even put Mike up there, but obviously Beverly's up there because of Jessica Chastain. But I think Eddie's death was definitely well handled. So then they defeat Pennywise, and I mean, that's basically it. I mean, there's really nothing else there. But I definitely like some of the stuff that happened in the sewer. Well, yes, it did seem corny, but I liked the climax. It was fine. It was fun. But like just like the '90s series, that was predictable. But yeah. But another thing that I forgot to talk about, basically the whole thing, how Mike finds out how Pennywise basically came to Earth. I found that to be interesting. I found that to be pretty cool. At first I was like, I don't know if I buy into this, but then I'm like, you know what? I like this. It's pretty cool. I mean, yes, the book, that whole thing is relevant to the book, so I didn't mind it. I thought it was very interesting. And there's talks of prequels. Maybe you'll focus on more of that lore, which I'd definitely be into and definitely check that out. So basically, there's that. And then, yeah, so basically they go off into their separate lives. Beverly goes on with Ben onto their boat. And I felt like the actor who played Ben, he was fine. I just wish that they put more heart into his character like they had in the first one. And yeah, they go off into their separate ways. James McAvoy / Bill goes off to write his novel. And I also liked the fact that they trashed on his ending, kind of like what they did with the It novel, the actual It novel with Stephen King. And I thought he had a wonderful cameo in this film. That scene was tons of fun. And overall, I liked this movie. I really did. And again, I know I listed a lot of its flaws. However, I do really enjoy this movie. Again, the opening scene is fantastic. The kid stuff was great. The connection that Bill had with the kid, which is kind of like what he wished he would have done with Georgie. I mean, yes, he failed both times, but that stuff was just really good. The old lady scene was great. The Chinese restaurant was tons of fun. And the performances were just fantastic. The chemistry was there with the losers, and Pennywise was creepy. So overall, I like this movie, even with its flaws. I'll definitely pick it up on Blu-ray, especially if it has that most likely 5-hour cut. Now, how I would rank the losers, to be honest with you. Last place. Well, I'd go Stan easily, because he was only in the movie for 50 seconds, and I wished he had more runtime, to be honest with you. Sixth, ooh, that's tough. That is tough. Man, really thinking about it, it's actually really hard. I might go Bill, to be honest with you. And I love James McAvoy. But that's just how much I love these characters, to be honest with you. And I'd probably put Bill. And then fifth. Actually, no, I lied. I'd put Ben, and then Bill at fifth. And then fourth I go Mike. Third I go Beverly. Sixth I go Eddie, and then second I put Eddie. I'm sorry. First I go Richie. Obviously, Bill Hader is fantastic. I mean, this just proves more and more why Bill Hader is just such a fantastic actor. And if you guys have not seen Barry, you must see Barry. Literally after this movie, I kept on watching Bill Hader interviews because he's just such a funny guy, and I love Bill Hader. Oh my god, I'm just on a Bill Hader just spree right now with him. Now, I heard somebody say that maybe this should have been split into 3 chapters, especially what they were trying to do with It Chapter 2. To be honest, I think that would have been better, because it would have focused more on what's happening in the adult lives of the Losers Club, like what's happening in Beverly's life. And yes, you can say they probably dragged it on, but you get a better and bigger payoff in the third one, which I probably would have preferred, to be honest with you. And yeah, that's it. That is the It Chapter 2 spoiler review. Again, there's tons of things I liked with this movie. It's definitely nowhere near as good as the first one, and I had a blast with this movie. It's definitely a fun horror movie. If you like the first one, definitely go check out the second one, because, you got to. So, I enjoyed the film. Tell me down in the comment section below, what did you think of It Chapter 2? And make sure to go back and check out my non-spoiler review for It Chapter 2 on the Kid Kritic Mvie channel thing. We talk about movies. Yeah. So, anyways, that is it for Kid Kritic here on the Kid Kritic Mvie Podcast, where we talk about movies and all that other fun stuff. And look, we talked about a lot. I mean, we talked about TIFF, we talked about the Game of Thrones stuff, we talked about Apple Plus, and we had our It Chapter 2 spoiler review, and I had a blast. I absolutely had a blast. I hope you did too. Make sure to come back and check out the next episode of the Kid Kritic Mvie Podcast, which releases every single weekend, usually on Saturdays. And yeah, that is it for Kid Kritic. Make sure to follow Kid Kritic at Kid Kritic1 on Instagram. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Kid Kritic YouTube channel. And as always, peace.